I grew up in a very large family, completely atheist. The only religious influence we had was my grandmother, who was constantly praying for us, and but she wasn't cramming it down our throats. Unlike a lot of other people living in the South, you get that you're going to hell, you're a heathen, and that doesn't help. Most people shy away from the church because of the church. It became more and more convincing to me that I was right. God didn't exist. It was all brainwashing and just misinformation, is the current buzzword. So I knew that I was right. I had lost 2 pregnancies very early. But then in 2004, I was pregnant with my daughter, Hannah. In March of 2004, on March 23rd, we had gone for a routine ultrasound. I was pretty far along, and found out that she had passed. They said I had probably lost her within hours of coming in for the ultrasound. That probably one of the hardest things I've ever been through. I didn't deliver Hannah until the 26th of February. So for 3 days, I was a walking coffin. A lot of my friends and family members were saying, oh, this is God's will. We get whatever. That is not the thing to say to somebody who's lost a child. In September of 2004, found out I was pregnant again. Was destroyed. Did not want to go through all that again. Had said, that was it. We're not doing this anymore. But I was so far along when we found out. I was already, into the 2nd trimester. So it's like, okay, this is it. This is no more. She was born on March 29th, 2005. Almost a year, or actually a little over a year, after I had delivered Hannah. Stayed kind of true to what we believed, that, God didn't exist, and, you live with it or die with it, whatever comes along. She got into middle school, made friends with a girl here from Salem, Kaylee. Kaylee invited her to a chocolate party with youth. What girl can turn down chocolate? So McKenna came. She loved it. She'd never been to a church before other than my grandmother's funeral. So she liked the sense of family. Everybody was so wonderful and so welcoming. And she wanted to come back. She said, okay, I'm not gonna stop you if that's what you want to do. Okay. She also was asked to join the Leaders Club at the YMCA. She loved that. They did a lot of mission work. One of the mission trips was going to be rather expensive. And they said, ask your church, ask your family, for donations to help you go on the trip. McKenna said, we don't have a church. We don't do that. So my husband, Drew, spoke to a friend of his at the Y that he worked out with, Randy Clark, who told his wife, Jen Clark, and she spoke to the Bible study that she was a part of, Joe and Loretta Campbell, who have, during COVID, moved away, but they were part of Salem as well. They donated so McKenna could go on the trip. McKenna had a fantastic time on the trip. So when she came back, I said, we need to do the right thing. Go to the Bible study, tell them what you did with their money, tell them about the mission trip, all of that, and thank them for helping you go. So when we went, it was just so odd to me. Joe and Loretta have 2 children on the spectrum, 2 adorable children, Zach and Delia, who are now teenagers. And we just had such a good time. It was so peaceful in their house. 2 kids on the spectrum in their house is peaceful compared to my house. So, we had such a good time. We kept going back. McKenna was taking care of Zach and Delia while the adults were having Bible study. And at first, I kind of treated it like a book club for a book I'd never read. But Joe presented the information in a way I'd never heard before. When somebody comes to your house, if they kick the door in, you're not going to want them to stay. But if you invite them in, they're going to hang around for a bit. And that's kind of how the Lord was working. And in came the doubt, that tiny, tiny little twinge of maybe I was wrong. We don't like to admit we're wrong. Maybe I was wrong. March of 2019, I was at work in Greensboro. It was the anniversary of my daughter Hannah's death. Should not have gone to work, but felt like I had to. I went in, I was already very on edge. My supervisor at the time, her and I just got into it from the second I walked in. I snapped. I was yelling, screaming. She was yelling and screaming back. Storm outside to the car. When I was younger, I had contemplated suicide and actually tried. Had I had a gun in the car that day, I have no doubt I would have used it. I was done. I was broken. I was as far down as you could go. I get in the car. The Bible that Joe and Loretta had bought for me was in the passenger seat. It's usually in the back seat. So I said, okay, if you're ever gonna be real, this is your shot. So I picked up my Bible and just start, just shuffling through. And the passages, I couldn't tell you what book, what verse, but everything that my eyes were landing on was, I'll give you rest, peace, give it to me, trust in me, calming the waters. Like, okay, maybe. I was not ready for that trust fall. That day on the way home, was listening to the Bible again, kind of random books I would just pull up and listen. And that day on the way home, I was listening to Revelation. And it just kind of reminded me, everybody's gonna have troubles. But if you have the Lord, He's gonna help you through those troubles, because He's gonna work all things for good. And I started thinking, look at my life. All the things we went through as kids, my parents splitting up, my stepdad committing suicide, losing Hannah. I didn't think I'd survive that. But had Hannah been born, I wouldn't have had McKenna. And McKenna, all the things that she did that led me to Joe and Loretta and Randy and Jen, and having that positive influence, they showed me what I needed. I'd been looking for peace my entire life. My life was a mess, and it still was. And I just thought, okay, I've messed this up pretty good on my own. Maybe I do need some help. So that Sunday, came to service and was sitting with Joe and Loretta like I always did, and it was a communion Sunday. And as it's coming around, I look at Loretta and I said, I can't do this, can I? She said, only if you believe. I don't remember reaching for it, but I did. And she started crying, which made me start crying. And I said, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready. I can't keep living like this on my own. I think I do believe. So it took several days for me to get saved. Some people it's a moment, but for me it took several days. And so that tiny little seed of doubt just kind of bloomed and really changed everything. And I got baptized on Mother's Day that year, and Joe and Loretta's daughter Delia was my baptism buddy. And since then, McKenna and I have been attending services. Even through COVID, we were attending virtually. I've done a lot of reading. I continue to do Bible study with Joe and Loretta and Jen and Randy. And coming into the family of Christ has been probably the biggest thing in my life. Never had a lot of friends that I kept for very long or anything like that, but the family that I've made within Salem has just been amazing. I needed a father in my life. You know, over 40, you'd think you still need a father, but I did. I needed a father in my life, and when I accepted God, I finally found the father that I needed, and his love and his wisdom just shines through in so many of the people here, and that encourages me. You know, that's watering that little tree, and just helping me get through the craziness.